Have you ever noticed how one person can quietly take over your thoughts without warning, showing up in your mind when you wake up, when you're busy, and even when you're trying your hardest to forget them? And the strange part is, it starts feeling like they might be thinking about you too. Welcome back to Decoder's Mind, where we break down the hidden patterns of thoughts, emotions, and attraction so you can understand what's really going on beneath the surface of relationships. Today we're diving into a powerful topic about why someone can take over your mind completely, what it means when you can't stop thinking about them, and how this mental connection can feel so intense that it starts to blur the line between imagination and reality. Here's something most people don't openly admit. When you can't stop thinking about a man, something is already shifting on his side too. And this isn't some fantasy or unrealistic idea. It's about the very real pull that can exist between two people. The kind of connection that's hard to explain, but almost everyone has experienced at some point. Before you assume this is just meant to comfort you, pause for a moment. This isn't about giving you empty reassurance. It's about understanding what may actually be happening underneath the surface when someone keeps showing up in your mind. And honestly, there's a strong possibility he's feeling it as well. Maybe more than you realize. You know the feeling. He appears in your thoughts when you're having breakfast. You see something interesting and immediately think he would enjoy it. A song plays and suddenly he's there again, back in your head. You try to focus on work, friends, or anything else, but your mind keeps circling back to him. It starts to frustrate you because you don't even want to think about him this much, yet you do. Then the questions begin. Am I overthinking? Does he even think about me? Is he just living his normal life while I'm stuck replaying everything? It can feel confusing and even a little overwhelming. But here's the important part. You're not imagining things. And you're not strange for feeling this way. There's a genuine chance that what you're experiencing is shared. When there's something meaningful between two people, the emotional current rarely flows in just one direction. It's not random when someone occupies your mind so completely. It's not simply you being too emotional. Often, it's a sign that something deeper is happening. In this conversation, we're exploring the idea that when someone refuses to leave your thoughts, there are real shifts happening on his side too. By the end, you'll see why your mind keeps returning to him and what that could mean for both of you. When you constantly think about someone, it can feel like that focus creates a connection. Every time your mind goes back to him, your attention stays locked in. You replay conversations, wonder what he's doing, and remember little details. That level of focus strengthens the emotional link in your own mind. You've probably had moments where someone randomly crossed your mind and shortly after they reached out, or you dreamed about them and then they appeared again in your life. It feels more than coincidence because your mind was already tuned into them. When your thoughts keep returning to him, it's like your attention is quietly pulling him back into your awareness again and again. Even if he isn't consciously thinking, she's thinking about me right now, he may still feel a subtle shift. He might randomly check his phone without knowing why. He might wonder what you're doing out of nowhere. He could suddenly feel like reaching out, even without a clear reason. It's not mystical in a dramatic sense, but more about how emotional connections linger. When someone matters, the mind naturally circles back to them. The more you think about him, the more your own behavior and attention revolve around that connection, and that can influence how interactions unfold. When someone keeps showing up in your thoughts, it often means you're reinforcing memories and feelings tied to him. At the same time, he may also start revisiting those shared moments. He could be replaying conversations, thinking about something you said, or remembering the last time you were together. He might scroll through old messages, look at photos, or wonder what you're doing at that exact moment. These small mental returns happen naturally when there's unfinished emotion or curiosity. You're not alone in this mental loop. It's possible he's experiencing his own version of it, even if neither of you says it out loud. When someone occupies your mind the way he's occupying yours, it rarely stays one-sided. Your thoughts don't just vanish. They shape your attention and reinforce the connection you feel. As you keep returning to him mentally, that focus strengthens how present he feels in your life, and it can naturally lead him to think about you more too. Even while he's busy with work, hanging out with friends, or caught up in daily routines, you may suddenly cross his mind. In that brief pause, he might remember something you said, replay a moment you shared, or even smile without fully realizing what triggered it. Over time, you can become a quiet reference point in his head. It's not something he does deliberately, but when someone stays on your mind, comparisons happen naturally. He might meet new people and notice something missing without clearly defining it. He might hear a joke and remember how you once made him laugh more. Your presence becomes less about a single memory and more about a feeling that lingers. That feeling shapes how he experiences other interactions, making them seem different because you're already imprinted in his thoughts. His mood can also start to shift in subtle ways. When someone keeps resurfacing in your mind, it affects your emotional state, and the same can happen for him. He might suddenly feel lighter without knowing why, or experience a sense of restlessness he can't explain. He could find himself more reflective, more distracted, or emotionally sensitive. If he seemed a bit off lately, more thoughtful, or less focused, it may simply be because you've been on his mind, and those thoughts are stirring up feelings he hasn't sorted through yet. You've probably noticed how everything starts reminding you of him. A song, a place, a smell, or a random comment can instantly bring him back into your thoughts. It can feel like you're present in small, unexpected ways, even when you're not physically there. He may also feel an urge to reach out, but struggle with how to do it. When someone keeps appearing in your mind, you often feel the impulse to talk to them, yet hesitation gets in the way. He might pick up his phone multiple times, consider sending a message, then rethink it. He could type something and erase it, scroll through old conversations, or check your profile just to feel closer. The intention is there, but overthinking can stop him from acting. He doesn't always know what to say, so he waits, even though the urge keeps returning. All of this can leave his focus scattered. Thinking about someone repeatedly takes mental energy, and it can make concentration harder. Just like you find your mind drifting back to him while you're working or socializing, he might experience the same thing. He could zone out more often, forget small details, or lose track of what he was doing. His thoughts wander, and without realizing it, they keep circling back to you. It's not dramatic or obvious, but it's enough to subtly affect his attention and the way he moves through his day. What you're really dealing with is how the mind forms emotional loops around people who have strong impact on us. When someone triggers curiosity, attraction, uncertainty, or emotional intensity, your brain doesn't treat them like a normal thought. It treats them like something unfinished. And anything unfinished tends to repeat in your mind over and over until it feels resolved. That's why you don't just think about him once and move on. Instead, your mind keeps pulling him back into your awareness through random reminders, imagined conversations, and what-if scenarios. It's your brain trying to make sense of the emotional charge he created in you. The more emotion attached to a person, the stronger the mental loop becomes. On the other side, it can feel like he must be thinking about you too in the same way. But what's actually more consistent and grounded is this. When you emotionally invest energy into someone, your perception of them becomes stronger and more frequent inside your own mind. That intensity makes it feel like they are everywhere in your experience, even when they're not actively doing anything. You also start noticing patterns more. A name, a place, a song, or even boredom can bring him back into your thoughts. This is called associative thinking. Your brain connects neutral things with emotional experiences, so anything linked even slightly to him becomes a trigger. Over time, this builds the illusion that he is appearing everywhere, when in reality, it's your mind activating stored emotional memory. The feeling that he might be thinking about you just as much can come from emotional projection. When someone feels important to you, your brain naturally assumes a kind of mutual importance. It's comforting to believe that energy is being mirrored. But what's more accurate is that you are experiencing the intensity internally, and your mind is trying to balance that intensity by imagining it exists equally on both sides. Another layer is uncertainty. When there's no clear closure, no direct answers, or no consistent communication, the mind keeps the connection open. Uncertainty is one of the strongest fuels for obsession-like thinking. If everything was clear and resolved, your thoughts would slowly reduce. But when things are unresolved, your brain keeps the connection active like an open tab in the background. What you're really exploring here is how emotional attachment turns into mental repetition. When someone has a strong emotional impact on you, your brain doesn't just store them as a normal memory. It keeps reactivating that memory again and again, especially when there is curiosity, uncertainty, or unfinished emotional energy attached to them. This is why a person can start feeling present in your thoughts, even when they are not physically present in your life. Your mind begins to replay moments, imagine conversations, and fill in gaps with possibilities. It's not random. It's your brain trying to create understanding and emotional closure, even when real-life closure hasn't happened yet. The more attention you give to these thoughts, the stronger the mental pathway becomes. So instead of fading, the person becomes a familiar loop in your thinking pattern. That's why they show up during quiet moments, when you're alone, or even when your mind is not fully occupied. Your brain defaults to what feels emotionally important or unresolved. At the same time, uncertainty plays a huge role in making this feeling stronger. When you don't fully know where you stand with someone, your mind keeps the connection active. It keeps asking questions like what they think, what they feel, or whether they miss you. These unanswered questions keep the emotional loop open. But it's important to understand that what feels like connection happening externally is often your internal emotional system working intensely. Your thoughts about them become more frequent, and because of that intensity, it can feel like something mutual or shared is happening. In reality, your mind is simply processing attachment and meaning. Another key part is emotional association. Anything linked to that person, a song, a place, a time of day, or even a certain mood can bring them back into your thoughts instantly. Over time, this builds a pattern where your brain connects almost anything to them, which makes it feel like they are everywhere in your life. The important shift is realizing that thoughts are not signals or confirmations of what the other person is doing. They are reflections of your internal emotional state. When you start observing your thoughts instead of following them, the intensity slowly reduces, the loop weakens, and the mental space they occupy becomes smaller. And eventually, what once felt overwhelming becomes something you can acknowledge without being controlled by it anymore. This doesn't mean your feelings are fake or meaningless. It just means your mind is actively processing attachment. And attachment is powerful because it blends emotion, memory, imagination, and expectation all together. That's why it feels so real and consuming. The important shift happens when you start noticing the difference between emotional intensity and actual reality. Because right now, the experience feels mutual and external, but a lot of it is internal processing. Once you understand that, you begin to regain control over how much space he occupies in your mind. And slowly, the same thoughts that feel uncontrollable start becoming something you can observe, instead of something that controls you. At the end of it all, what you're really experiencing is a strong emotional connection that your mind hasn't fully let go of yet. When someone keeps living in your thoughts, it doesn't always mean something mysterious or dramatic is happening outside of you. More often, it means that person has left an emotional imprint that your mind keeps returning to, replaying, and trying to understand. And while it can feel like everything is also happening on his side in the same way, the most important truth is this: what you consistently focus on grows stronger inside you. The thoughts, the memories, and the emotions all start building their own weight, making him feel even more present in your life than he actually is in reality. Whether he is thinking about you in the same intensity or not, one thing is clear: you are already deeply connected to the idea of him, and that means the real power is not in guessing what he feels, but in understanding what your thoughts are doing to you. Because once you learn to notice that, you stop being controlled by the thoughts and start controlling where they go next. If this video helped you understand what's really going on beneath your thoughts, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new insight from Decode His Mind. And in the comments, drop the word clarity if this message made sense to you and you're ready to see things more clearly from now on.